Hi guys, welcome to my newest video. Thank you for clicking on it. I hope you all are well. So I have taken a small hiatus from my channel, trying to figure out what it is that I want to do, where my heart is leading me. I am going away from coloring. I'm wanting to lead more towards the word, and I want it to matter, and I want to put things out there that are going to matter. I don't want to be one of those people who sits there and, puts out a coloring video that's hours long and then turns around and maybe does a devotions that's like maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. I mean, I think that should be the other way around. I think you should be spending more time on the word and God and doing the right thing than sitting there and spending, hours coloring or crafting or, whatever. But that's just my opinion. That's just where my heart is leading me. And I was trying to figure out what video I wanted to do. And I decided that my heart, because of everything that has gone on lately and things that I've observed and seen, and my heart's just really, I feel compelled to do one on hypocrisy. Now, this is not me standing on, a milk crate pointing at everybody else. I have definitely had moments of hypocrisy myself. I have lived the mentality of do as I say, not as I do, which is very hypocritical, and I am learning to try to not be that way. But I think that doing this video can be enlightening and hopefully will be a learning tool for those out there who are 10 toes deep into hypocrisy. So, with that said, let's see what the Bible says about hypocrisy. The Bible portrays hypocrisy as a serious issue and warns against the practice of outwardly appearing righteous while inwardly being filled with wickedness. Now let's define what hypocrisy is. So let's define and see what a hypocrite is. Okay, so I'm doing this on my phone. So let's see what a hypocrite is. Now I'm going to be using Google, and I'm also going to be using the jw.org app. These are going to be my sources, so there's no copyright issues. So according to Google, a hypocrite is a person who pretends to have virtues, beliefs, or feelings that they do not actually possess, especially when those actions contradict their stated beliefs. So essentially, a hypocrite is a deceiver who feigns a certain behavior or attitude while privately holding different beliefs or acting differently. Okay? So hypocrites are known for pretending to be something that they're not, such as being moral or virtuous or pious. So for example, if someone is doing something like let's say they're doing like a devotional, and they are saying and preaching forgiveness, yet they themselves do not forgive. Or they are preaching to do unto others, but they themselves wouldn't want the things that they're doing to others be done to them. Those are things that are hypocritical. The core of hypocrisy lies in the discrepancy between what a person says or professes and what they actually do or believe. Another example of hypocrisy is being extremely sick or being extremely obese and turning around and giving people medical guidance, telling people what they should do medically, or telling people what they should eat or how they should live when they themselves are sick or obese or whatever. That's another form of hypocrisy. Now, I know that I've done that. I'm diabetic and I tell people, oh, you shouldn't eat this, this, and this, but yet I'm sitting there eating this, this, and this. So again, I am definitely someone who needs to work on that, and that is a road that I am trying to not travel down and get off of. Here's an example of hypocrisy. Someone might criticize others, or let's say not voting, but never vote themselves, or they might reach or preach about healthy eating, like I said, habits, while secretly indulging in unhealthy food themselves. Also, a hypocrite is someone who, like I said, do as I say, not as I do kind of mentality. Now, according to the Bible, in Matthew 23, it condemns hypocrites, comparing them to whitewashed tombs that look beautiful on the outside, but are filled with decay on the inside. So let's go read. Well, I don't know if we're going to read all of Matthew 23, but let's see what Matthew 23 says. So we're going to go over here to the app, and we're going to go to Matthew 23. And, she's a long one. That's okay. It says, Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees have seated themselves in the seat of Moses. Therefore, all the things that they tell you, do and observe, but do not do according to their deeds, for they say, but they do not practice what they say. They bind up heavy loads and put them on the shoulders of men, but they themselves are not willing to budge them with their finger. All the works they do to be seen by men. For they broaden the scripture containing cases that they wear as safeguards, and lengthen the fringes of their garments. They like the most prominent place at evening meals, and the front seats in the synagogues, and the greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called rabbi by men. But you do not be called rabbi, for one is your teacher, and all of you are brothers. Moreover, do not call anyone your father on earth, for one is your Father, the heavenly one. Neither be called leaders, for your leader is one, the Christ. But the greatest one among you must be your minister. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut up the kingdom of the heavens before men. For you yourselves do not go in, neither do you permit those on their way in to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel over sea and dry land to make one proselyte, and when he becomes one, you make him a subject for Gehenna, twice as much as yourselves. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, If anyone swears by the temple, it is nothing, but if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he is under obligation. Fools and blind ones, which in fact is greater, the gold of the temple that has sanctified the gold? Moreover, if anyone swears by the altar, it is nothing, but if anyone swears by the gift on it, he is under obligation. Blind ones, which in fact is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Therefore, whoever swears by the altar is swearing by it and by all the things on it. And whoever swears by the temple is swearing by it and by the one inhabiting it. And whoever swears by heaven is swearing by the throne of God and by the one sitting on it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you give the truth of the saint, and you give the tenth of the mint and the dill and the cumin, but you have disregarded the weightier matters of the law, namely justice and mercy and faithfulness. These things it was necessary to do, yet not to disregard the other things. Blind guides who strain out the gnat but gulp down the camel. If I mess up a little bit while I'm reading, forgive me for that. My eyesight is not what it used to be, so I'm trying to read as best I can, and it's extremely bright in here, and the brightness really affects my eyes in a negative way. So if I stumble a little bit, it's right here on the screen, so you can just pause it and read it if you misunderstand something. Let's see. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you cleanse the outside of the cup of the dish, but inside they are full of greediness and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, cleanse first the inside of the cup and of the dish, so that the outside of it may also be clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you resemble whitewashed graves, which outwardly indeed appear beautiful, but inside are full of dead men's bones and of every sort of uncleanness. In the same way, on the outside you appear righteous to men, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the graves of the prophets and decorate the tombs of the righteous ones. And you say, if we had lived in the days of our forefathers, we would not have shared with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. Therefore, you are testifying against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. Well then, fill up the measure of your forefathers, serpents, offspring of vipers. How will you flee from the judgment of Gehenna? For this reason, I am sending to you prophets and wise men and public instructors. Some of them you will kill and execute on stakes, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, so that they may come upon you all the righteous blood spilled on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the killer of the prophets and stoner of those sent to her. How often I waited to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you did not want it. Look, your house is abandoned to you. For I say to you, you will by no means see me from now until you say, blessed is the one who comes in Jehovah's name. Now, hypocrisy is also highlighted in other scriptures, such as Job chapter 8, verse 13. So let's go see what Job 8:13 says. Because I want you guys to see that this isn't just me saying this, that this is actually biblical not to be like this. So Job, which happens to be my favorite book of the Bible, 8, verse 13. This is the outcome of all who forget God, for the hope of the godless will perish. And if you're a hypocrite, then you're godless, basically, because you are sinning, and that's not the right way to be. And it says Proverbs 11:9 warns against the consequences of hypocrisy and the need for integrity. And integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. So let's look at Proverbs 11:9. So let's go to Proverbs It's going to take me a second to find it, but I will find it. Proverbs. Well, I knew it's in the New Testament. Where are you, Proverbs? Show yourself, Proverbs. I know you're here somewhere. There you are. Proverbs. I forgot what it was. Proverbs. What was it? 11:9. So Proverbs chapter 11, verse 9 says, "By his mouth the apostate brings his neighbor to ruin, but by knowledge the righteous are rescued." I like that. That's nice. So let's look a little more into the biblical views of hypocrisy. So as I read in Matthew 23, Jesus directly condemns the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, accusing them of hypocrisy. He compares them to tombs outwardly clean but filled with the dead. Jesus' teachings emphasize the importance of internal righteousness and warns against seeking external praise for good deeds, as the hypocrites do. So that also means do things for the right reason. Don't do things to get a pat on the back. So if you're really super talented at something, let's say like you're a great painter or you're a great colorist, don't sit there and show your work and pat yourself on the back. Give God all the praise, because Jehovah is the one who gave you that talent and that ability. He's the one that should be getting the praise, not yourself. So that's one way to stop being a hypocrite. There are consequences of hypocrisy. The Bible warns that hypocrites will face God's judgment and that their actions will be exposed. So all the things that we do as hypocrites, we will have to stand judgment for sometime. And we can ask for forgiveness. But here's the thing. If you ask for forgiveness and then you turn around and do the same thing again, and then you ask for forgiveness for that same thing, and then you do it again, and then you ask again, and then you do it again, and then if you keep doing it over and over again, are you really truly sorry? I mean, think about it. If someone came to you and did something to you and asked you to forgive them, and you said, okay, and then they turned around and they did it again, and you're like, okay, and then they turned around and they did it again, you're going to be like, look, are you really sorry? Like, it's kind of offensive that you keep doing this same thing to me over and over and over again, but you're apologizing, but yet you're doing it again. So if you're truly sorry, would you continue to keep doing the same things over and over again? So if we're trying to stop ourselves from being hypocrites and we want to ask Jehovah for forgiveness, we need to truly be sorry for what it is that we're doing and steer ourselves away from doing it again. And yes, we're going to stumble now and again because we're imperfect Christians and we're imperfect people, but we need to try harder. So don't just say that you're going to do something differently and then turn around a day, a week, a month later and then do it again, because then you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not trying. Here they talk about the fig tree in Matthew 21. Jesus' cursing of the fig tree symbolizes the consequences of outward appearance without internal fruitfulness. So make sure that you, especially those who are in the public eye or on social media, you're held to a higher standard than most people because you're out there. And if you're someone who's out there preaching the word and you're coming across as a hypocrite, then you're kind of putting a dark mark on the word as well, and you're not presenting Jehovah and his ways in a good light. So if you're doing devotions and things like that on social media or on the street corner, whatever, and you're, preaching things that the Bible says, and then we turn around and see you later doing things that are contradictory to what you were just preaching, you're not only making yourself look bad and wicked, you're also making yourself look unrighteous and unreliable and untrustworthy. And you're making people who might be on the fence about coming to Jehovah, you might be making them think twice about it, because they're like, well, wait a minute, this person is supposed to be a person of God, but yet they're being hypocritical. So we all of us who are preaching the word, we really need to be careful with that we don't stumble that way and do those things. False religion, also hypocrisy, can manifest in false religion, where individuals outwardly profess faith but do not live according to it. Now, you can see that a lot in a lot of different religions. I am not going to sit here and pick apart the religions, but I'm sure if you do a Google search, you can see that there's a lot of hypocrisy that lies in a lot of different religions. That is why I personally do not affiliate with any specific religion whatsoever. I went to a Catholic school growing up, but I'm not Catholic. I have studied many different religions. My husband goes to a Baptist church, but I am not Baptist. I have studied with Jehovah's Witnesses, and I am a firm believer of Jehovah being God's name. That does not make me a Jehovah's Witness. I feel like there is truth in all religions, and you need to do your due diligence to find out what your truth is, because in the end, when it comes down to it, and you're sitting before Jehovah in the end, answering for everything that you've done in your life, it's going to be you and the research that you have done and the way that you have acted that is going to matter, not what somebody else has told you, or what your family believes, or what your friends believe. It's going to be what you believe and what you have done. So let's look at some of these key takeaways. Hypocrisy is a serious sin in the Bible, especially when practiced by those who claim to be religious. It involves outwardly appearing righteous while inwardly being filled with wickedness. Now, I want to give you guys a couple other examples. Let's see. Examples of hypocrisy. Now, this is a Google search. Anybody can Google search. Let's see here. Hypocrisy in everyday life. A common example is a person telling their children to be honest, but then lying to them themselves. Great example. I know a lot of you are going to get angry about this, but the Easter Bunny. Oh yeah, the Easter Bunny is going to come and bring you a basket. That's a lie. That's being a hypocrite. But then if you're lying to your children and then your children turn around and lie to you, they get punished. See how that's not right? Hypocrisy in social contexts. Someone who criticizes others for their lifestyle choices while engaging in similar behavior is hypocritical. So I'm sure that you can think of a million different examples of that. I don't need to go into that. A person who judges others for lying, but frequently lies themselves, is being hypocritical. So someone who sits and tells stories and makes up lies about people, but then turns around and tries to make themselves seem holy or righteous, that's someone who's a hypocrite. So that is what I have for you today. I don't know where my heart will be led in the next video, but I hope you got something from this. I really, really, really hope that you got something from this, because we all need to work on this, all of us. Some way more than others, but we all do need to work on this. And I hope that you all have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever and wherever you are watching this. I am grateful for your view, and until next time, love and hugs. Bye, guys.